Hi everyone, it's Miss Sarah. I hope that you are all doing well and that you're staying happy and healthy at home, and that you're also able to get outside in the beautiful sunshine we've been having. So today I thought we could start out with a new way to greet each other. So today we're going to actually learn some sign language. So we're going to learn the sign for I love you. So I want everybody to put your hand up in front of you just like me. And we are going to bend down our middle finger and our ring finger. You're going to leave your pointer, your pinky, and your thumb up. And this is how we say I love you. So on the count of 3, we can all hold up our hands just like this and say I love you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I love you. All right, and you can teach that to your family and your friends too. So this week on our choice board, we've been learning all about the letter W. We've been learning about patterns, and we've also been learning about the seasons. Now there are 4 seasons. We have spring, summer, fall, and winter. Those are our 4 seasons. So I want you to think in your heads right now and think about what season we are in right now. If you said spring, you got it. We are in the season of spring. And some of the things we might think about when we think of spring are maybe flowers starting to grow or being able to spend some more time outside because the weather's getting nicer. So I thought we could try some fun springtime breathing today. And we are going to try to pretend to smell flowers and blow bubbles. So you're going to all grab your pretend flowers just like this. I'm going to pretend I have maybe a beautiful pink tulip because tulips are my favorite flowers. So we're going to breathe in your nose, pretend you're smelling the flowers. And then you could put your finger out like this and pretend you're blowing some bubbles with a bubble wand. So try it with me. We're going to do it 3 times. Ready? Get out your flower. You pick what color and what kind it is. We're going to smell your flowers. And now blow some bubbles. And smell your flowers and blow your bubbles. Last time, smell the flowers and blow some bubbles. You did it. All right, next, I actually have a couple of things in my What Is It bag. Now, I don't have the What Is It bag from school, but I borrowed one of my son Jacob's bags here. You can see it has Lightning McQueen from Cars on it. And inside my bag, I have a few clues about what our story is going to be about today. So you can try singing the What Is It song with me at home. Ready? What is it? What is it? What is it in my bag? All right, I'm going to give you some hints. Ooh. All right, in my bag I have something red. Lots of times people think about it being a vegetable, but it's actually a fruit. It's a tomato. Now this isn't a real tomato. This is one of my son Jacob's play food tomatoes. So a tomato is one thing that will be in our story. I have something else in here. This time it's green. It's leafy, it's a vegetable, and it also grows in your garden. It's lettuce. And this is like a little pretend head of lettuce. So there'll be some lettuce in our story. I have another thing here. Ooh, this is actually the real thing. This is orange and long and crunchy. It's also a vegetable. It's a carrot. Carrots will be in our story. And the last thing I have, it's not a vegetable or fruit. This is something that's, it's an animal, and it's hoppy and maybe floppy and has long ears. It's a bunny. It's a bunny rabbit. So these are all things that are going to be in our story today. Our story today is one of my favorite springtime books. It's called Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. And the author of our book, the person who wrote the words, is Candace Fleming and also G. Brian Carras. And I'm going to real quick turn the camera around so you can see the pictures better.
All right, here we go. So again, our book is called Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. And what do you see on this cover? I noticed that there are some vegetables and some little bunnies. There's also a man here. Looks like he might be doing some gardening. There's a carrot. For years, Mr. McGreely dreamed of planting a garden. He dreamed of getting his hands dirty, of growing yummy vegetables, and of gobbling them all up. But he never once tried it until... This spring, said Mr. McGreely, this spring, by golly, I'm going to plant a garden. Oh, so it's springtime for Mr. McGreely, too. So he hoed, and he sowed, and he watched his garden grow. Lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes. Yummy, 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 said Mr. McGreely. I'll soon fill my tummy with crisp, fresh veggies. Oh, look at this. Do you notice who's over here peeking at him making a garden? It's some bunnies. I wonder what they're up to. But one night, when the sun went down and the moon came up, 3 hungry bunnies appeared. Tippy, 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 pat. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Oh no, they're eating Mr. McGreely's vegetables. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his gnawed sprouts, he was angry. So he built a small wire fence all around his garden. There, he declared, no bunny can get into my garden now. Look up here. Those bunnies are peeking at him again. And the sun went down, and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat. Spring, hurdle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Uh-oh, they hopped right over that fence. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his nibbled leaves and gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he built a tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. Humph, he huffed. Those flop ears will never get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. He really doesn't want those bunnies to get in his garden. Uh-oh, look down here. Those bunnies are still peeking. They're watching him work. Oh, look at Mr. McGreely is sleeping, and he is dreaming about his vegetables. And the sun went down, and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat. Dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. Spring, hurdle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. I think they went under the wall and then over the fence, and now they're eating more veggies. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was really, really angry. So he made a deep, wet trench outside the tall wooden wall, behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. Ha! He snorted. Those pufftails can't get under it. They can't get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. There's those bunnies peeking at him over there. Do you think that they're going to be able to get in? I think they will. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat. Dive, paddle, splash, splash, splash. They went into the moat and swimming across. Dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. And spring, hurdle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Oh, they did it. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chomped blossoms, his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was furious. That means he's super duper mad. So he hammered and blocked, sawed and stalked, drilled and filled and trapped and locked. And he built a huge, enormous thing before the deep, wet trench, outside the tall wooden wall, behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. "I've outsmarted those twitch whiskers for sure," he exclaimed. "They can't get through it, they can't get under it, and they can't get over it. No bunny, no way, no how can get into my vegetable garden now." Here's those bunnies. Do you think they're going to be able to get over this big, huge, enormous thing? Let's find out. The sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 stop! The 3 hungry bunnies looked and smelled and touched the huge, enormous thing before them, and tippy, 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 pet. The bunnies hopped away. They couldn't get in. How do you think Mr. McGreely will feel when he wakes up tomorrow? I bet he's going to be happy. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his untouched vegetables, he was happy. Look at that big smile. "I beat the bunnies," he whooped and did a jiggly wiggly victory dance. Then he climbed over, jumped across, squeezed between, and crawled under until he reached his vegetable garden. "Ah," sighed Mr. McGreely, "at last." Smacking his lips, he picked and pulled up lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, and with his basket overflowing, he reached inside for something yummy. Oh, do you guys notice anything funny about the basket? I see something silly sticking up out of his basket. What could that be? Uh-oh! Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. Those bunnies snuck into his basket and went with him into the garden and ate up some more of his veggies. Oh, look what happens here at the end. It looks like Mr. McGreely decided to share with the bunnies. The end.
All right, I hope you liked our book, Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. And now it's time for our question of the day. So I noticed that in this book, Mr. McGreely was able to grow his vegetable garden, and that tells us that it was springtime. So I want you to think about if you have noticed any changes or signs. Whoopsie, I guess I'll have to put that back up.